Welcome, folks, to the penultimate episode of our special off-season coaches series on the No Conference for Old Men podcast today, where two of the three old guys have a special guest in University of Houston men's basketball assistant coach and head coach in waiting, Kellen Sampson, joining us for a bit of Q&A. We've had a few noted guests here on the show in our first 2 years of the podcast, including Coach's sister last offseason. But it's safe to say that this is definitely our high point in getting Coach Sampson on our humble podcast. For fans that may not know, and hopefully I get this right, Coach Sampson's been at UH since 2014, joining his father's staff as the number one assistant from day one. But Coach had already forged his own path in basketball with a rapid rise in the coaching ranks prior to joining the Cougars. Again, I'm not going to get into too much detail because we actually want to hear about the journey directly from Coach. But just before coming to Houston, Coach Sampson had spent 3 years as an assistant at Appalachian State, where they were actually a bit of an offensive juggernaut while he was there. And part of that, Coach had entered the full-time coaching ranks at Stephen F. Austin as assistant coach, where, surprise, they led the nation in scoring defense. In addition to those stops, Coach got his start in college hoops with a couple of stints at IU as grad assistant on his dad's staff there, and then at his alma mater, OU, as grad assistant, and then as strength and conditioning coach. Coach Kellen Sampson received both a bachelor's and master's degree from Oklahoma, and was also a 3-year letterman on the OU men's basketball team. Super impressive background, and we're excited to have Coach join the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Coach Sampson, and thanks so much for taking the time out from your busy schedule.
No, appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody who's, as we enter the dog days of summer, that's dreaming of maybe some cooler temperatures outside and back in Fertitta Center, and as we get ready to get after it and have another awesome year.
All right. So we've gathered some questions. Do you want us to just get right into it?
Right into it.
Okay, let's do it. So I gave a highlight of your background, Coach, but maybe you can spend a few minutes providing listeners with your own perspective on your basketball coaching journey. I mean, obviously your dad is an all-time great basketball coach, but how did you come to realize that it was actually the right path for you?
It's interesting. So I'm a third generation coach.
Yeah, that's right.
My granddad was a Hall of Fame coach in the state of North Carolina at the high school level. So my dad played for him, and then I was fortunate enough to play for my dad. But when I was a little boy, my grandmother gave me a Bible, and it was a children's Bible, and they asked you a series of questions that I'm sure just kind of would serve as a reference or chronicleize where you were at at that time in your life. And I think I was a first grader.
Nice.
And they asked you your future occupation. There's 3 lines. And in all 3 lines, I wrote basketball coach.
Oh, wow. Wow, you knew early.
Yeah, there was just, the 2 most important men in my life was my grandfather and my dad. And I couldn't fathom or process not doing what they did. And it just seemed like the best job in the world to me that I didn't understand why I had to go to school every day and he got to go coach basketball. Like, this is some BS, man. But and fortunately those 2 men did a wonderful job explaining to me that I had way more upside as a coach than a player. And so I kind of played basketball, to fill my time in between I could actually coach basketball. But
yeah.
I was so fortunate that my dad and granddad, who were both my heroes, and it was the thrill of a lifetime to live in both of their shadows, every second of every day that I could. And then, my dad's teams were really good growing up. And I probably the first, old enough to start having real memories is about the time my dad's teams got really good at Washington State.
Yeah.
And so the magic, the excitement, the juice, going to the NCAA tournament his last year at Washington State. And then when he took it over at Oklahoma, I was a 4th grader. And he went to the NCAA tournament every year. And so traveling with his teams and going to practices and watching how he would take a team in the first day of school and just understanding the college basketball calendar. And then just taking the journey with each team to fall conditioning, The first couple of days of practice was always, back then you couldn't start practice till October 15th.
That's right.
And so every weekend he would have 2 practices on Saturday, 2 practices on Sunday. And, I'd get to school Monday and my friends would ask, "Hey, where have you been?" I was at practice, man.
Yeah.
What do you mean, where have I been?
Yeah.
And, there's so many Sunday mornings at church where they're asking you to bring out the hymnals and in between I've got last night's stat sheet and I'm studying, who shot what. I always managed to steal my dad's stat sheet on the way to church.
So you're studying it during church?
So I'd study it and then look at, trends and minutes played and, kind of maybe home from church, he'd ask me, or I'd ask him, like, why'd so-and-so only play X amount of minutes? But I was just totally enthralled with every part of it. There's so many nights I stood at the top of the stairs and listened to my dad on recruiting calls, or so many Saturday mornings. Because I had sat at the top of the stairs. I knew what recruits were visiting, and I knew how important they were based on how the conversations were going, and just every piece of the gig I was excited for.
Wow, that's awesome.
Didn't have NIL then, but so that's been new. But
yeah, we'll have to get into that if
but just it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. And,
wow.
And to sit here next year, I think it's my 18th year coaching.
That's nuts.
I took 120 credit hours because I majored in communications because I heard there was no math. I took 100. I graduated college in early in just over 3 years because my goal was to be done with my master's, and so I could skip being a graduate assistant.
Okay. Wow.
Wow.
Super focused.
I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I got an offer from Tad Boyle. He was head coach at Northern Colorado.
Yeah.
But I actually got an offer to be my first offer to, that was a check mark. Is straight from being a player to being an assistant coach. I got a job offer. So
wow.
I was advised to finish my master's.
From your folks? Or?
Hey, Coach, do you remember playing Augustana when you were at Northern Colorado or not?
You know what? I never went to Northern Colorado. I had to turn it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to finish school.
Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't take the UNC
job?
I
sold out.
Okay.
Not the education.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah. I asked you that because my wife's Augustana grad, and back then they were in the same conference.
Got it. Yeah. No. I heard Greeley is beautiful, but I never quite made it.
All right. Hey, so as part of the original staff that joined on when your dad took over, I mean, obviously all the hardcore fans know exactly the role and importance you played in kind of creating the whole program and how instrumental you were in kind of building the culture of toughness required of coaches' teams. But the casual fan may not know kind of how your role evolved over, because like you said, you've been here since 2014. And even as the top assistant, your role has had to have morphed and evolved over time, given the profile of the program when you started to where we are today, as well as now the advent of NIL, the transfer portal, the house settlement, things of that nature. So maybe you can spend a bit of time describing to the listeners, how your role has changed as the number one coach for the program.
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of on all of us to keep us current, to keep us cutting edge. I think, there's kind of an awesome inner circle of guys on our staff that have been with us from the beginning. Hollis Price, Casey Beard, our trainer, John Houston, have kind of, we've grown and done this journey together. But when we first started, we just felt like we were swimming upstream so much in so many ways. And when we first started, we were trying to acclimate Coach Sampson back to the college game. And then KC hadn't been in the college game for a little while. And then Hollis had never been in the college game. And so my role back then was to just almost help acclimate everybody into college basketball and recruiting calendars and the flow of the way the events and the recruiting stuff worked. And I felt like I was a bit more of a recruiting coordinator back then, but just kind of introducing everybody to hey, look, this is in building out our databases of sophomore, juniors, and seniors, and just kind of creating our recruiting infrastructure, so to speak. And we were having to recruit so many guys back then because there's a lot of guys that just wouldn't listen to us or take our calls or at least take us serious. And so, the amount of prospects we were responsible for back then was massive.
Yeah.
We couldn't be a rifle shot. We'd zero in on a guy and he wasn't zeroing in on us right back.
Yeah, that must have been so tough early days, right?
A lot of just humbling, frustrating at the time for sure, but just humbling moments.
I'm actually curious because you had been at Appalachian State. So I almost even want to understand year one and the kinds of kids that you recruited. Were you able to get more traction at Appalachian State versus where Houston was at?
No, I wouldn't say that, but we were also recruiting just a different level player from App State to Houston. And that was, it was new for me because I wasn't, I hadn't recruited at this level. And so that I knew who they were, but I didn't necessarily have deep rooted relationships with the guys that could really help us. The only guy I had a deep rooted relationship with, actually was in the office today, was Rob Gray. He's a mountain kid from North Carolina, and so I recruited him at Appalachian State.
Okay.
Our first year, we were telling a story earlier today about our first year recruiting a kid, and we had to sign so many guys that first spring, and we didn't even know where the buildings were. I mean, I got lost on campus twice. I'm on golf carts cruising around sidewalks, and all of a sudden the sidewalk ends because I didn't know campus at all. And so I'm having to hit reverse. It was awful. Wow. I'm having to be right there in front of the library. I'm having to hit reverse and the golf cart's making that heinous, awful sound. And people, oh my God, where is he going? Hey, is he lost? Yeah, I am.
What was that building again? The library? That one.
Yeah, exactly. So, But so my role back then was almost, gosh, in just trying to be an Energizer bunny and keep spirits high and keep our excitement going. I think, my dad always knew the vision of where we could go and how, and he was always steadfast that we're going to get there. I don't think any of us ever believed for an instance that we would not be super successful here. But, back then it was, gosh, it was just a journey, kind of keeping the morale high and realizing that, look, this isn't going to be an overnight turnaround.
Yeah.
And identifying maybe some guys that are bridge guys that, look, we can take this guy, get us back to a little respectability, and he'll lead us to the guy that leads us to the guy.
Yeah.
And then from there, maybe we can kind of be on our way. Whereas now, it's certainly the recruiting culture has changed in the landscape with NIL and rev share, and so I'm a little bit more of have to have a little bit more of a general manager's hat and figuring out pie charts and trying to kind of work through the weeds of numbers and things like that. But the fun stuff hasn't changed. The fun stuff is still getting on the floor, lacing your shoes up tight, pouring your heart and soul into player development, pouring your heart and soul into your installation. 12 years ago, we were trying to establish what our systems were It was so funny as my dad had so many awesome ideas from the NBA,
Uh-huh.
and he was so itching to see if they could work in college.
Yeah.
And some of them good, some of them didn't.
Yeah.
But people say, what do you look? Our defensive system is us.
Uh-huh.
It's a hodgepodge of things that we felt like have worked, that we stole from this, or we acclimated to this particular opponent.
Yep.
And we thought, oh yeah, you know what, that works. We like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make it a rule. And so, so when we install our system, it's ours. I can't go to YouTube or
Yep.
Defensive for Dummies and find the end. Look, our system is our system.
Yep.
And so, but 12 years ago, we didn't have a system. We just had ideas.
Okay.
We had concepts that we felt like might work or could work.
Yep.
And then through 12 years of trial and error, we now know exactly what we do. We're really grooved out with our summer installs, and we're really grooved out with just our summer flow and process. It's interesting, as I was having a conversation with Emmanuel Sharp in the spring,
mm-hmm.
and he was already back home. And so I called him one night. We had this real awesome, long, lengthy conversation, and so we were both still bummed.
Mm-hmm.
We were both, the work was done, our team was set, but we maybe finally got a chance to mourn not winning at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I said that there's two things. Number one, our incoming guys had already spent a little time on campus.
Yeah,
and they were rejuvenating and excited because they were so excited to be here.
It's fresh for them, yeah.
But I said, man, the exciting part for us or exciting for everybody is we got where we went because we got the right process and we got the right formula. And it wasn't luck. It was the byproduct of us doing the right things and stacking the right day after day after day.
Yep.
If you do it once, it means you can do it again.
Yep.
We know how to duplicate our flow and our process year over year, which gives us a chance to get right back here if we get a little luck and we got the right attitude and effort.
Yeah, no, I know. We're jazzed. The fans are jazzed as well. The way you and your dad and the whole staff have built the program, it's just been an incredible display of elite consistency. That's really it's a little bit shocking, right? Even as fans, it's a little bit shocking.
Yeah, and I'd say, Steve, from a fan standpoint, people are jealous of the program that U of H has.
Yeah,
they're the way y'all play hard and play together, and people are jealous. They're fans of other teams, and they're like, man, I wish our team would play that way.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you guys saying that. It's labor of love.
Yeah, and Coach, and you kind of mentioned this a few times. I know your dad has mentioned it quite a few times in interviews. The whole aspect of culture and the unique approach you guys take, right, with this heavy emphasis on accountability, effort, toughness, and humility, right? It's a combo that's hard to instill and stay true to. And so I'm kind of curious, from your own personal perspective, as you bring new players on board and you're trying to communicate and teach, every kid's going to receive information differently. And I'm just kind of curious, as a leader of men, right? What's your philosophy? How do you go about, trying to reach the kids, and any philosophy in terms of how you approach getting that messaging across succinctly, right, where they're receiving it?
I think, and we have the advantage that we get to recruit them.
Yeah.
Right. And how we coach kids begins with how we recruit them. When we get into the recruiting process, one of the things that we pride ourselves most on is that we don't lie. We don't overpromise. I had a conversation once with a recruit's family, and they said, "Well, do you think my son's one and done?"
Mm-hmm.
My answer is that, look, there's zero chance I can speak on that because I don't determine if he's one. That's the NBA. what I can, I got into what I can say is that, look, he's going to have I think he is immensely talented, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But we just don't recruit. How easy would it have been for me to say right there in that instance, oh, heck, and just
blow smoke, right? Yeah.
And just sold out to
Yep.
bankrupted the culture and the effort and all the hard days that he was having just to win that moment.
Yep.
And I don't think we ever sacrifice the process and the journey to win a moment. And I think it starts there, is that everybody's there's a hello world moment when they get here.
Yeah.
Going through our flow.
Yeah.
But nobody who comes through our doors is surprised at that things are going to be difficult. Things are going to be challenging. And then what goes with that is that we expect everybody to lean into difficulty. We expect everybody to lean into how hard things are. Don't run from it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever scars that we have coming, let's have them on our face, not our back, because we're going to run to the fight.
Yeah.
And everything that we want is on the other side of the fight. I think one of the hallmarks of our program is that we really challenge our guys to get good at confrontation. Don't run from your problems. Don't run from difficult. Run to it and learn to conquer it nose to nose, eyeball to eyeball, because that's what life's going to be from now to the rest of your days. And nobody's fighting your fights for you.
Yeah.
And those are the ingredients of a great culture. Is, first of all, you got to get kids who can bite. That excites them. If they're running from that messaging, look, let's fight. Let me find out right now.
Yeah.
Because then I for sure don't want to find out we're down 6 with 10 to go at Lubbock, and hey, I don't want any part of the fight. Whoa.
No.
Look, I screwed up. I didn't. I wasn't a good detective in the recruiting process, and really, really challenge that person to make them a little uncomfortable, and let's reveal something about each other. But then how easy is wrong term, but what a luxury that we all have, as that we work for the most consistent human being on the face of the planet. Coach Sampson is the same person every single day.
Yeah.
You never have to guess which way the boat's going. You just got to grab an oar and follow him.
Nice. Nice. So here's a question from Bill Walker, who's not here today. We all know, like in other industries, college basketball is a copycat profession where everyone tries to mimic success, right? And I'm sure you guys have had tons of coaching staffs come through to want to learn and observe and incorporate, right, that same level of toughness. And I don't want to say no one's been able to replicate it, because there's some tough, other tough programs as well, like, Barnes at Tennessee and things like that. But really, why hasn't there been, more ability to replicate the type of culture that you all have created here at Houston?
Well, the head coach has got to be 1,000% 10 toes committed to the same things that Coach Sampson's committed to.
Yep.
And there's a lot of ways to go about things. Obviously, our national championship game is a great example. Todd Golden's a young guy.
Yeah.
He's my age.
Yeah.
And they go at things a different way than we do. We value similar things, but they go about it differently. And so, but if you're trying to be like us, you better be like Coach Sampson.
Yeah.
Everything starts with him.
Yep. At the top.
And if you're trying to replicate who we are, you got to ask yourself, can the head coach replicate him?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if that answer is no, then look, you got to find your own way to do it. There's cheese at the end of the maze. There might be 4 different routes there. If our route isn't for you, our route is for you if you can replicate Coach Sampson. I haven't seen anybody do that.
Yeah.
He's one of one. And that's the reason he's a legend. That's the reason he's a Hall of Famer. That's the reason he's still in his prime.
Yeah.
He's still
Absolutely.
he might be. He's better today as a head coach than he was when I played for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's better today as a head coach than he was when I worked for him at Indiana. He's better today than I worked for him 12 years ago when we first got to U of H.
Yeah.
I mean, he's awesome.
Yeah. Most
probably sound like a
yes.
complete homer.
No. We're in there 110%. I mean, we all feel so lucky to have Coach as well as you and the entire staff, right, as part of the program. We've, as we had kind of mentioned to you earlier before we got started here, right? All three of us guys are from the old days, right? Back in the early 80s. And so we saw, some good years and then basically 2 decades of a desert. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a desert. It was so bad. And it wasn't until you guys came on board where you basically did an entire forklift, which is still amazing that you were able to pull off. So we're all very appreciative. And obviously it's a reflection of how great of a coaching staff you guys are.
I appreciate that. But that's the long and the short of it. If you see my kids.
That's fine. Yeah,
that's fine.
I got the fourth generation here.
I tell people all the time that I think this is the greatest rebuild in college basketball history.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah. Nah, it's cool. So obviously recruiting and player retention is the lifeblood of the program. And I know your dad has mentioned in other interviews that he never pays attention to star rankings and things like that. You do your own assessment on players and things like that. But on the flip side, I'd say there's no denying the fact that the profile of players that you guys are able to recruit and pinpoint and bring in are just at an elevated level, right? Versus when you guys just got here. It's just we've never, right? This program has never recruited at this level. Even back in, Guy V. Lewis's heyday, we would never be able to consistently recruit at this level. I think one of the questions that we had for you, and we've asked the other assistant coaches the same question as well, is as you're starting to elevate in terms of the kind of national profile players, are you finding it more difficult to find those traits of toughness, humility, and accountability in these players? Because quite honestly, a lot of these kids at the highest levels have been somewhat kind of babied along the way, right? Sure. And for the type of hunger and effort that you guys demand, I'm always curious as to, well, yeah, you can find the talent, but can you find as many of those players with that right fit or traits that you're looking for?
The exciting part is who we are as a program is a bit more known. And so we don't have to explain who we are. Typically, it's already been explained for us. And if a young person chooses to still hear from us and hold us in high regard and they themselves want to go through the recruiting journey with us, they know who we are. And they know, again, they're always surprised when the bullets get flying, right? But
yeah.
You know what you're signed up for.
Yeah.
And what I do feel like as we go through this journey, and again, I think just transparency is everything, is we are uncomfortably honest at times with kids about what is expected of them if they choose Houston. Chris Senack is a great example. Jarris Walker is a great example. Jarris Walker's dad had maybe the greatest line ever in a home visit when he was talking to my dad, but he said, "Coach Sampson, I want you to know this. If we do this right, my son's not going to graduate college. We're not picking a school, we're picking a coach. Everybody says how good my son can be, how good my son can be." He said, I've never seen it. So my challenge as his father is to put him into the hands of somebody who can get the best out of him.
Nice.
A, that was super powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Freaking awesome is that?
Yeah.
But B, they recognize that, look, maybe my son up to this point has not exhibited the traits
Right.
necessary, but we feel like by sending him to Houston, he will.
Yep.
And so when we're identifying how coachable are you, there's two things. Every really good player we've ever had here had two things in common, and then everybody that maybe didn't live up to the hype or the billing or just didn't quite work out, they were missing one of these two things. But the best of our players are unbelievably competitive and they're unbelievably mature.
Yeah.
If you possess those two things, there's no change you won't make.
Yeah.
There's no adjustment that you won't, undergo because you want to win. I want the best for myself. I want the best for my team. I'm not going to accept 90% of 90 cents on the dollar. I want the whole dollar.
Yeah.
And the most competitive people and the most are so competitive that they'll change in an effort to win. And the maturity piece that comes into play is if things aren't going your way, do you have the maturation to accept I need to change?
Yeah.
And it's just thing that we ask all of everybody's, look, you've got to become us because we're never going to become you.
Mm-hmm.
You came to play at the University of Houston, not the University of Jarris Walker.
Yep.
Not the University of Marcus Sasser, not the University of L.J. Cryer. You came to become a part of the University of Houston. It's a heck of a lot easier for 13 guys to learn to play to one standard than for us to learn to play to 13 standards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and when you look at it from that perspective, you're able to filter through the weeds a little bit.
Yeah.
This guy, look, he doesn't have the requisite maturity or competitiveness to do this. Regardless of his talent.
Yep.
This isn't a good fit. This isn't going to go good for anybody involved.
Yep.
And now the hard part for us, or not hard part, but challenging part sometimes is having the courage to, dang, he's really good. We're not a good fit.
Yeah.
But I think that's where, when you have the leadership from Coach Sampson, that he truly doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he doesn't know what anybody's ranked.
Yeah. So has there been any cases, especially in recent years where, right, kids are now approaching, you all voicing interest in, these are still kids, right? They're still 17-year-old kids are not always the most self-aware. So sometimes in their own minds, they think that they can handle it. And have you ever had to tell them, in the recruiting process that, I'm sorry, I don't
Yeah,
no,
100%. Look, I just had one of those conversations last week.
Okay.
Where, hey, look, I appreciate the interest. I appreciate I'll tell you great stories as I was recruiting Jamal Shed.
Yep.
And I was torn between him and another player. I won't say the player's name, but I was torn. I was going back and forth. Didn't know what I was going to do. And finally, in his infinite wisdom, my dad kind of said, look, you need to figure it out.
Yeah.
You're all over the place. Therefore, I'm all over. Figure it out. And Jamal's high school always went super early in the morning. His athletics period was the first period of the day. Coincidentally enough, so was Kingston Fleming's. But so before school, Jamal would lift, and then he'd have basketball. This was late March, early April of 2019.
Okay.
And I was kind of, I liked both of them. And I just was trying to figure out which one I liked more. And I knew it was Jamal, but I just was, the other kid was talented. I knew it was Jamal. Yeah. But I went and watched him. And Jamal at 6:30 in the morning was a ball of fire. He was popping around. He was engaging his teammates. He was just a leader. He was terrific. And then he went to basketball. He went to his athletics period there afterwards, and it was the same thing. And I went, man, it was pretty good. So I called my dad, and I said, well, Shed was. He goes, "What did you think?" I said, well, he was really good. He was himself.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to. I said, "Look, I need to see this thing out." So the other kid was up in Dallas, and he had an after school work. His athletics period was the last period of the day, so it was at like 1:00.
Mm-hmm.
He had, nothing outrageous. And that particular day, his high school coach was making them run,
Mm-hmm.
and he was running the mile, and he finished last. And he was just terrible.
Yeah.
And his attitude was even worse. And then we got to the basketball part, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal. But he was a mute. He didn't say a word. He didn't engage anybody. He didn't take anybody with him. He was he was a massive distraction.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm driving home from Dallas that day, and I said, Coach, Jamal Shedd's the answer. Is he embodies everything that we want in our point guards, from a leadership, from a cultural, but again, we're just blessed that I know what the culture, I know what our identity is, because Coach Sampson leads it. We never have to guess who we are. We have a clear-cut idea of who we are. I'll finish with this: is that Jamal Shedd won 11 NCAA tournament games. That kid won 1.
Wow. Wow. Mic drop.
And so
that's awesome.
So I say that the other kid was more talented.
Yeah.
But Jamal was a better fit.
Wow. That's a fantastic story. Thanks for sharing. So I've got a follow-on question from Bill, in kind of going along the lines of recruiting. Retention right now is hugely important. And you guys in the Houston program has done such a phenomenal job, especially in these trying times, right? With all the money that's flowing around in terms of, retention with key players year over year. And, you talk about great programs and things of that nature, but we're seeing great programs, even our peers within the Big 12, right? By any measure, you would call KU and Baylor great programs, right? That have won national championships in the very recent past. And you're talking about off seasons, in Baylor's case, of losing the entire team, right? In KU, by choice or attrition, also losing the vast majority of their teams. It's like, so what is the secret sauce, right, so to speak, in terms of your success and how quickly you guys have adapted to the changing landscape in college basketball?
Well, I'll say this on behalf of Baylor, is they were so good for so long that a lot of their staff has gotten opportunities. Jerome Tang got an opportunity to go to be the head coach of Kansas State. My man Jacobs got an opportunity to go to Florida Atlantic. So some of their retention issues are related to the guys that did the recruiting of the players left.
Yeah.
And that's always tough. Alvin Brooks III left and went to Kentucky. And so they've had staff that left for really, really, really awesome positions within the industry. So I think it starts there. We've been really fortunate in that we've built and created a staff that people want to be a part of.
Yep.
And that, we lost Qantas this past year to Louisiana Lafayette, but that was far and away. That was definitely not the first head coaching opportunity that he had been offered. He could have been a head coach easily 3 or 4 years earlier. U of H has made an awesome commitment to me, and so that I've never felt like I needed to look around. I've had a number of opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that helps keep our, the voice or the messenger a lot of times in the recruiting process can help keep the cake batter together so it doesn't fall apart on you. I also think that because Coach Sampson refuses to lie on the front end, his credibility with the families is unbelievable. When it gets to the offseason, when they go through hard times, it is uncomfortable. It is not a surprise. Nobody feels ambushed when they have adverse moments in their program here. We've already talked that this is part of the journey. We and then
Nice.
I think the best thing that, and again, it starts with Coach Sampson, but we give everybody a plan that's executable. We never talked about Jamal Shed being one and done. We talked about what the end of the road looks like.
Yep.
And we never talk about when the end of the road is. We just talked about the journey that he's going to have to go through in order to be the player he wants to be. And if to keep it with Jamal, Jamal's journey was, look, he needed a development year. He needed to grow physically. He needed to grow mentally. He needed to grow emotionally in order to become but those were things we identified and talked about in the recruiting process. A guy like Marcus Sasser, quite honestly, he surprised us.
Yeah.
We were open to the idea his freshman year that he may be a redshirt guy. And then he comes and he's a total ass kicker.
Yeah.
And, kind of actually changed some other people's careers while he was here. But his mom had the greatest line ever to him. He was having a really tough moment. It was like all freshmen, whining and moaning. He really just wanted, but he was thinking about quitting, and he really just wanted to be heard. And his mama told him hey, you need to shut up and read all them tattoos you got. So I said the next piece is we do a good job of identifying a young person's circle too.
Yeah.
And if the same voice is hitting on the same messages all the time, again, you just keep an awesome level of transparency and organizing each young person about where they're at on their journey. It was super easy recruiting, or super easy year for Jarris Walker in a lot of ways. He started every game, 8th pick. Come on, that's a dream. We had a game. It was New Year's Eve. We're playing Central Florida, and Jarris plays awful. He is terrible. And the other freshman for Central Florida, Taylor Hendricks, kicks his butt.
Yeah.
And coach looks at us on the bench and says, we got a choice. We could either play Jarris or we can win.
Yeah.
Which do you think I'm going to do? I said, God rest his soul. I said, Reggie, get in there, man. So we benched Jarris the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And, the next morning, coach had a text message on his phone, Horace Walker, Jarris's dad. You kind of one of those, oh, man, it's going to be about, it's going to be a hard day here. And the text said, thank you for coaching my son. This is why we chose Houston.
Nice. Love it. Wow.
Look, they were as much on Jarris's butt for how he played as we were.
Yeah.
The circle was right. The circle was intact. The next game we played SMU, he had 18 at halftime.
Wow. Yeah.
When you recruit the right kids from the right families with the right circles, there's no amount of adversity you can't get through. Nobody's year is going to be perfect without some bumps along the way. But when you've got great open lines of communication with the family, it makes the end of the year, you're able to set the table to have an awesome end of the year conversation. We value, I think the last piece of it is, as a staff, we still think of ourselves as very much a developmental program. We value our retention. We value our returners. Yeah. If we had our druthers, we would backfill and then push everything up to the front. Our best, we always try to have our best player already on campus for the following year. And I think that creates a culture that, look, the longer I'm there, the better things get.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
I'll say the last piece of it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes moving from Houston, right? The city itself is awesome.
Yeah, no doubt.
The amount of enhancements that President Couture's made, our director of athletics, Eddie Nunez, and just our entire administration, they've made Houston a really cool place to go to school too.
Yeah.
And it's a little, I worked at Appalachian State, man. It's a little easier leaving a place that's under 4 feet of snow. You're living on a mountain underneath 4 feet of snow. Coming home, those 72-degree days in January go a long way.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, kind of as we pivot and on the performance front, obviously we've just completed a record-setting basketball season, running away with the Big 12 championship by an even larger margin than in season one, which was incredible. Incredible success. Obviously, tough in terms of how the season ended. And clearly, the formula that you guys have put together works extremely well, and it's consistent. But I guess in kind of the whole thinking of continuous improvement and things of that nature, have you guys thought of new wrinkles or things that you want to, or new learnings that you want to incorporate in heading into this season, especially with some new kids coming on board?
Oh, of course. I don't know if we've got a couple of program staples, certainly offensively, that we always install and touch on and get through. But outside of that, every team is the makeup is different. That's one reason we started the year last year 4-3. Is we were having Milos run Jamal's offense. Milos ain't Jamal. That's okay. And we come out of Vegas and we modified things. We tweaked things to play to Milos' strengths. And things Milos was able to do, Jamal couldn't do. And so, yes, we're incorporating some new thoughts and new ideas. We haven't had a four-man who can really, really shoot threes. The last couple of years, Jarris was the last one. And then before that, Fabian.
Yep.
So, having a four-man who can step out and shoot, Chris Cenac obviously can. Chase McCarty, who's going to play a little four for us, certainly can.
Wow.
And so that'll change us and modify what we do a little bit. Kingston gives us a little bit more of some athleticism than we've had here certainly more so than last year. He's got a little more athleticism in the mold of Jamal. Milos is going to have to score a little bit more this year. And so Isaiah Harwell is terrific of an all-around guard. As we've had here, just being good at a lot of things. And then, Mercy Miller's going to take a nice big step up. Hopefully we're all knocking on wood that we can get a fully healthy year out of Cordell Jefferson and Ramon Walker to let those go. We haven't had three really healthy backup fives in a long time. Watching Khalifa Sacco and Said Lott and Jacob McFarland work through their summers has been a lot of fun. And so that'll present new opportunities for us to evolve and grow as we figure out what the right buttons are. I would really like it if we don't have to go 4-3. To start 4-3. The best coach this team that made for a really uncomfortable December.
Well, it's going to be. Well, I think the schedule is going to be front loaded again, though, right?
Yes.
With the new era tournament, so there's no rest, right?
Hey, the way it ended, we looked like geniuses.
Yeah.
Why are we changing?
Exactly.
Don't evaluate the sausage until it's done, right?
That's
Don't get caught up on how we make it.
Yeah.
You're not going to like this part.
But yeah, obviously a lot of really fun pieces for this year's team for you guys to experiment with. It was interesting. I mean, just this week, I think both John Rothstein and Gary Parrish had mentioned, insiders from, I guess, you guys hinting that you might go 2-point guard starting lineup. Is that
July fodder? No,
exactly.
We would be. And people act like it's a new thing.
Yeah,
Saxton and Jamal were 2-point guards.
Yeah.
Galen Robinson. We started 3 one year with Galen Robinson, Corey Davis, and Rob Gray. Yeah. You're always just in an effort to get your best players on the floor.
Yeah.
And you certainly don't want to put limitations on you. Summer's a great time to experiment.
It is.
And push and prod and pull apart and let's see if this works. And believe me, he is long ways away from retiring. But I think this is the part of the year that my dad will miss the most when it's time is just the time on the hardwood, time on the floor tinkering.
Yeah.
He's a mad scientist, and then he just sometimes likes to, let's just see if this will work. And and moves this piece there, that piece there, and that's the fun part about summer. We're certainly not married to any idea or concept on July 30th. I can promise you that. But it has been it's been a lot of fun watching all these young guys compete.
Yep.
Watching them become Cougars.
Yep.
And it's been a lot of fun. Every time they have a little bit of morsel of success, the old guys come across and kind of uncle them a little bit. And so it's been a really competitive, fun, intense summer in that regard too. And I think that's the ingredients of a great year.
All right. I mean, I think that's all we had from a prepared questions perspective. I mean, thanks so much for the deep insights, and I'm sure Cougar fans are really going to enjoy listening to this one. Any final words or points you wanted to highlight today, Coach?
Man, just I think, this is a basketball show, and we all love hopes, but man, I really hope Cougar fans can get behind Coach Fritz and the boys this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know what the new building did for our mojo, our energy, our pop back in 2015, 16. I saw that internal belief kind of move our guys to thinking, man, you know what? We're big time now.
Yeah.
When the Guy V. Lewis Development Center got built and the Fertitta Center got built, it put a little bit more wind in our guys' back that, you know what, this is major college basketball now.
Wow.
Our football program has a major college basketball foundation now.
Yeah.
I think I hear those whistles going. I hear Coach Fritz on the mic in the morning, and I know that their staff feels like they've had a terrific summer.
Yeah.
I know it's hot as Hades in Houston in August and September, and it's a bear but I really, that program is on the verge of something pretty cool.
Yeah, I would agree.
I feel it in my bones with them. And I hope Cougar fans will believe in them while they're proving it. Don't make them prove it and then believe that our fourth year at Houston, we were playing at Texas Southern. We had not been to the NCAA tournament. We had a Tuesday night game against Tulsa where we had 700 people in the stands, and that was our first tournament team. We knew we were tournament good. We just hadn't done it yet, and we were on our way, but we hadn't done it, and it was really frustrating and discouraging. And we had to do a heck of a job as a staff, kind of with the mental psyche of those guys. That look, Coach, we're doing it, but does it even matter? Or what are we building towards? And I wouldn't envy that on anybody else. So Cougar fans, don't buy stock now.
Yeah, completely agree.
Get to TDCU. Did it go to the?
I think they're changing next season. Okay. I guess they're keeping it as TDCU. Yeah.
Get to TDCU. Support those kids. They've had an awesome summer.
Yeah, agreed. And a lot of new kids.
And it's a lot of new ones. There's a lot of fresh energy, fresh life. I think we got a QB that we can get behind. I know we've got the head coach that we can certainly get behind. His staff is terrific. I think when we get to November, people are going to feel really good about the direction of our program. Don't wait till November. Yep. Get there now. Get there in September. My final words is don't make them go through what we did and go through year 4. Don't make them get good before you support them. Support them right now. They've earned the right.
Yeah, well said, Coach. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. You guys have an awesome day.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's
Thanks, Coach.
That's it. That's it.
All right.
I
So
got bath time awaits.
okay. Well, I need you to hold on before you you hang up here. So that's it for this episode 57 of the No Conference for Old Men podcast. Hope you all enjoyed it. And again, would really appreciate it if folks would follow, subscribe, or collect our podcast, depending on your podcast platform of choice. And we're also available via the Republican Football podcast feed from the folks at Dave Campbell's Texas Football as the only basketball-centric podcast, or at the GoCougs.com website for those that prefer to digest the content that way. We appreciate the continued support from all, and please give us a follow on our Twitter account, No Conference for Old Men. And again, we are in our off-season cadence now, but please stay tuned as we complete our final episode in our coaches series. So please be on the lookout to download and listen as the next episode drops. Take care, everyone.